From the outside, they seemed to be a very happy young couple. Lachi was a pregnant wife and soon to deliver a baby boy. And while Scott was a husband with a steady job. But on 24th December 2002, something very terrible happened. It left not only America, but the whole world in shock. And when the truth finally came out, no one could believe what they saw and heard. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the full story of the Scott and Lachi Peterson case, from beginning to the end and even far beyond. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, from wherever you are, my friend. Welcome to TMC. And today we have a very fascinating story. This is by far one of the most shocking cases that I've ever heard of. We are going to dive deep into the case of Scott Lee Peterson from back in 2002. We are going to follow a timeline of events as they unfolded so that we can fully understand exactly what took place. Scott Lee Peterson was born on October 24th, 1972 in San Diego, California. His parents were Lee Arthur Peterson and Jackie Helen Latham. Lee owned a crate packaging company while Jackie operated a boutique in La Jolla. Scott was their only child together, though both parents had children from previous relationships. Growing up in La Jolla, Scott developed a passion for golf at an early age, and by age 14, he was proficient enough to go toe-to-toe with his father. He attended the University of San Diego High School, a Catholic institution, where he was a standout golfer and a teammate of future PGA star Phil Mickelson. During high school, Scott worked at a local golf course performing various tasks. And after high school, Scott enrolled at Arizona State University on a partial golf scholarship, aiming to pursue a professional golf career. However, the intense competition, particularly from Mickelson, led him to reconsider. There are reports that Scott was dismissed from ASU golf team due to allegations of influencing a teammate negatively, though the specifics vary. Following his time at ASU, Scott transferred to Cuesta College in San Luis Obispo. And in 1994, he moved to California Polytechnic State University, or we call it Cal Poly. He majored in agriculture business, and professors described him as a model student. Lachi Denise Rocha was born on May 4, 1975, in Modesto, California, to Sharon and Dennis Robert Rocha. They owned a dairy farm west of Escalon, California. She had an older brother, Brent Rocha, who was born in 1971. Her parents divorced when Lachi and Brent were young, so her mother married Ron Gransky, who played a significant role in raising the children from the time Lachi was 2 years old. Growing up, Lachi worked on the family farm and developed a passion for gardening alongside her mother. This fostered an appreciation for plant life that influenced her ambitions later in life. She attended the Thomas Downey High School in Modesto, where she was a cheerleader, graduating in 1993. After high school, she enrolled in California Polytechnic State University. While at Cal Poly, Scott and Lachi met in mid-1994. Scott worked at the Pacific Cafe in Morro Bay, and Lachi frequented that place. Scott was a young, handsome man who would easily get a woman's attention, and someday, one of those women that Scott attracted was Lachi Denise Rocha. She had visited the Pacific Cafe to meet a friend, but she couldn't resist the urge to talk to this very nice-looking young man. So Lecce made the first move. She passed on her phone number to Scott, and they started communicating thereafter. Soon they were dating and everything seemed all perfect. This led to them getting married in 1997 at the Sycamore Mineral Springs Resort in Avila Valley. After graduation, they opened a sports bar called The Shack in San Luis. In 2000, they were planning to start a family and be closer to Lecce's relatives. So they sold the business and moved to Modesto. They purchased a home on Covina Avenue. And of course they needed to find work, so Lecce took a part-time job as a substitute teacher and embraced her role as a homemaker. She enjoyed cooking. While Scott secured a position at Trade Corp USA, a fertilizer company, earning approximately $5,000 a month. In 2002, the Petersons announced they were expecting their first child, a son they planned to name Connor, with due date of February 10, 2003. Friends described them as the golden couple. Scott was charming, Lecce was energetic, but beneath the surface, Scott was hiding secrets. People who knew Scott considered him charming and polite, laid back even during stressful times. They considered him emotionally reserved, but Scott was living a double life. On November 20th, 2002, Scott meets another woman named Amber Frey, a young, beautiful blonde lady. He got instantly attracted to her and he told her he's single and never been married. They quickly got involved with each other and their relationship became romantic and sexual very, very quickly. This was all happening while Scott was still married to Lecce, who was over 7 or 8 months pregnant at the time. He even attended a Christmas party with Amber in early December, where he met her friends. It seemed Scott had started a different life on the side, while still stuck in the old one. He was living a lie, and at some point, the truth had to come out. Soon, one of Amber's friends found out that Scott was married, and she urged Scott to tell Amber about his marriage, or else she would tell Amber about it herself. So Scott realized he had to find a way to let Amber know about his marriage, but somehow not lose her in the process. So, on December 9th, 2002, Scott tells Amber that this will be his first Christmas without his wife. He claimed she had died. This obviously made Amber very upset because he had lied about it in the first place. But soon she found herself forgiving him because for the most part, he had become a source of joy in her life. This whole situation left Scott in a frenzy, and in his mind, he had to make a choice. He did make a choice, but it would be the most evil thing one could have ever imagined. On December 24th, Christmas Eve day, Scott drives out to San Francisco Bay. He would later tell police that he had gone fishing. The next morning at 10:30 a.m., a neighbor found their dog Mackenzie wandering with a leash on. This would indicate that the dog was being walked, or at least prepped to be walked, but whoever was supposed to walk it, or whoever was walking it, didn't actually complete the walk. So after noticing that Lecce's SUV was parked in the driveway, the neighbor who found the dog knocked on the door, but no one answered. So she left the dog in the backyard, and sometime later that day, Scott returned home. He took a shower, ate a meal, and after all that, he called Lecce's parents. Scott tells them that he went to Berkeley Marina to fish, and when he returned, he found out that Lecce was missing. But hey, who goes fishing on Christmas Eve? I mean, let's be serious. That evening, Lechi's stepfather reports her missing. The evidence suggests that Lechi's sunglasses were left behind, her car was in the driveway, her purse in the closet, keys hanging, nothing packed, which suggested that she had no plan of leaving home that day. This was now officially a missing persons case.
Lacey Peterson's husband says that he's gone fishing, or he had gone fishing at least. Now he's gone hunting for his missing 8-month pregnant wife. Fox's Jane Yamamoto has the latest on the search for Lacey, which has expanded to Los Angeles.
It's important to extend the search area.
Mobbed by the media, 30-year-old Scott Peterson greets volunteers here in the Southland, joining the search to find his missing wife, Lacey, who was 8 months pregnant when she vanished on Christmas Eve. The Peterson family set up a day-long volunteer center in a Westwood hotel, passing out flyers, hoping for her safe return.
She's hurting deeper than any of us could imagine. We just hope that, she's safe and somewhere.
Scott says he last saw her on Christmas Eve when he left to go fishing. The 30-year-old became the center of attention when the investigation focused on his personal life, allegations of an extramarital affair, and reports that he took out a $250,000 life insurance policy on his wife.
The police started the search, and the community came through to help. Over 1,500 people joined the search. The media went into a frenzy, and Lechi's photos flooded the news. Scott appeared to be cooperative at first. He helped in the search, he joined the search, he attended candlelight vigils, but he refused to take a polygraph test. And in some cases, this sends mixed signals if somebody refuses to take a polygraph test. So the police grew suspicious, given the fact that after a certain period in the investigation, he appeared to be detached. He was no longer this remorseful and hurting husband who doesn't know where his pregnant wife is. And hey, do you remember Amber Frey, Scott's mistress? Well, Scott had told Amber that he had lost his wife on December 9th, and this was 15 days before Lechi disappeared. After seeing Scott on the news following Lechi's disappearance, Amber contacted the Modesto Police Department on December 30th, 2002. She told the police about her relationship with Scott and what he had told her about his wife 15 days ago. Police requested her to secretly help with the investigation, which she agreed. And so from late December through January, she recorded phone calls between her and Scott. Sometimes she could record him daily. It was over 29 phone calls that she recorded. It was clear that Scott didn't know what was going on between Amber and the police, and in these recordings, Scott repeatedly lied to Amber. He maintained that he was in Europe, trying to get over his loss. Scott never mentioned about the police investigations to Amber, and his tone was romantic and detached from the situation.
Other developments this week that Scott sold Lacey's car to do a trade on a truck, and that he's attempting to sell off their house.
Some of the things that he's doing, selling off the car and possibly selling the house, seems to indicate that he might be trying to obtain funding. So I don't know what he needs the money for, but maybe it's for bills or something along that lines, but could be to run, who knows.
He went on and sold Lechi's car and inquired about selling their house and even moving to San Diego. But the police was following him constantly. In April, a couple walking along the bay found a small decomposed fetus. And the next day, a female torso was found 1 mile away. with the head and limbs missing. It was later confirmed to be Laci. Laci's torso had some nylon rope marks and tape residue. But the time had finally come for the police and forensics to investigate even more what happened, piecing together every detail. On April 18th, 2003, Scott Peterson was arrested in a parking lot in San Diego near a golf course.
Her husband Scott has been charged and is being held without bail in a jail in California.
He had bleached his hair and beard. He had $15,000 in cash, his brother's ID, 4 cell phones, a gun, a knife, hacking gear, tents, and 12 Viagra pills. I mean, this dude was onto something here. Was he trying to flee to Mexico or just hiding out from the place? Or was he trying to make it even with Amber? But either way, this looked really bad. The trial of Scott Peterson moved to Redwood City due to pre-trial publicity. It was a big case the entire nation was watching. The prosecution argued that Scott wanted freedom, with the motive a new life with Amber. But no physical evidence linking him to the crime was found. But rather circumstantial evidence was damning. The affair, the weird fishing trip on Christmas Eve, the GPS data, and taped calls. While the defense claimed Laci was kidnapped by strangers, maybe part of a satanic cult, no proof Scott harmed her. I mean, let's be real here. Come on. In November 2004, the jury saw him for the monster he is, and Scott Peterson was found guilty.
Peterson was found guilty of first-degree murder of Laci and second-degree murder of his unborn son.
Resolution to a murder case that has gripped the nation for nearly 2 years. Tonight, Scott Peterson stands convicted of both first and second-degree murder.
First-degree murder of Laci and second-degree murder of Connor. And in December, he was sentenced to death. He was sent to San Quentin State Prison, where I believe he belongs for all the lives he shattered because of his selfish behavior. But of course, there have been appeals in his case. In 2020, the California Supreme Court overturned his death sentence due to juror misconduct. And 2021, he was resentenced to life without parole. As of 2024, Scott is still trying for a new trial, claiming that juror number 7 lied about her history during jury selection. But he still remains in prison. Scott Peterson's case continues to haunt California, even until now. It's still as shocking as it was when it had just happened. How can someone be so selfish and so evil-minded that he decides to get the life he wants, he has to end the life of somebody who trusted him so much to an extent that they decided to make a family with him? It's so evil and so narcissistic, unbelievably cruel. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think the Supreme Court did what was right to overturn the death sentence? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification for more true crime deep dives. As always, my heart goes out to everyone who was affected by the events that took place in this story. Stay safe, my friends, and God bless you all.